Hey, my name is Jamie Ward. I am a student at UNCW. I'm a senior elementary ed major graduating in December. And my question is, how has some of your biggest difficulties in life or biggest challenges pushed you closer to God? And how did you remain faithful to Him during those hard times?
Well, hey everybody, welcome to Meet the Prof podcast, and I'm Shane Hartley. My friend Spence and I have the privilege of collecting questions from college students, and then we interview Christian professors and use those questions and more. So welcome, we're so glad you're here, and I just want to pause it first and say thank you. Thanks for logging in and listening. It means a lot to us as we're getting started. And we appreciate all of our friends who've been an encouragement to us. And we appreciate all the new friends that we'll make through this. So we have a real privilege here today of hearing from Elise Thompson. I interviewed Elise, and she is an associate professor of nursing at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. And her research is very interesting. So one thing she has part of her research is technology in nursing, and she uses virtual reality. So you'll enjoy hearing how she has used the Oculus. She also has done some recent research with escape rooms and somehow how that helps with considering the administration of medication. So she has a very interesting job. She loves her college students. And I think you're really going to enjoy hearing about God's work in her life. Elise is very honest and vulnerable about how her father died when she was 15 years old and how she stopped talking to God for a long time after that. And it's a very powerful story, even about how God uses other people to come alongside us when we need them. And it says a lot about now why she has such a passion to help college students and others. So before we get started, I want to ask, would you please subscribe or follow with this podcast if you like it, if you enjoy what you hear? And that's because when you follow or subscribe in your app, that is what the app considers when they're recommending the app to other people. So we would love this to get to as many college students as possible. You can follow us on Instagram. If you're a college student and you would like to submit a question for professors, you can do that through Instagram also. You can just send a direct message to us with a video where you state your name, your school and year, and then ask as many questions as you want. And then we will try to get that onto the show. Also, this is listening. Many of you are probably listening to this now, but if you'd like to watch this interview, we're recording it and we're placing all of the interviews on YouTube. So you can find us on our Meet the Prof YouTube channel and watch them that way. And if you want extra credit from us, as if that means anything, you go into your settings for your podcast and click on the option of auto download. Apparently, that really means a lot to the podcast companies. So without any further ado, here is my interview with Dr. Elise Thompson. Well, Elise, thank you so much for this time. I'm excited to get this time to interview you. Welcome to Meet the Prof.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, love the students getting this chance to get to know you more. So appreciate you doing this. And first question I have is, I've seen online that one of your publications recently had to do with virtual reality, VR, in nursing. And so I'm assuming that doesn't mean you're playing Beat Saber with your students. So what in the world is VR in the nursing field?
We use a lot of different learning techniques in nursing. One of those is simulation. And VR, or what we like to do immersive virtual reality, is actually another way to do a simulation, except this way, instead of going in a room with a mannequin, they're actually going to have the Oculus headset on, and they are the person going in as the nurse, and they're going to go assess the patient and treat them in virtual reality. It's really cool. I got to try it out, myself, and I was so immersed in there. I did it at a conference that I couldn't remember that I was at a conference. I thought I was taking care of this patient and I was in there. So the goal is that the students really learn about how to take care of a patient best.
That's amazing. To me, that actually sounds like so much fun.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, it's fun, but it also has that learning component. So
definitely, oh, definitely. I mean, this is what they will be doing. But does the patient interact with you at all when you're in VR?
oh, it's so real. When I went in the room that I was doing the VR myself, the patient was having an allergic reaction, and I had to, what do I do in this situation? The family members like, help her. And I mean, it was so real. I was like
Wow.
getting my heart rate up, like, oh, wow, I've really got to help this patient. And but it was really neat. Once you get past the, how do you do the controllers and everything, it's really immersive. Like you feel like you're in the room. It's really cool.
I wonder if students will hear this and use it as what they want for Christmas is the Oculus. I don't know what the new one is now, the Quest
Hey, well,
3.
we're trying to implement it more at school and nursing, but money is a little bit of a challenge. So I'm
Yeah.
writing grants right now, trying to get more money to do this.
Oh,
So
good for you. Well, so one of the questions students love to hear answered is what is one of your most embarrassing moments when you were a college student?
okay, all right. So I actually went to UNCW my
Oh,
freshman year of college,
mhm.
and I didn't live on campus. I lived off campus, so I would drive in, and I didn't know where to park. And I could not find parking, and I was looking everywhere. Finally found parking. Then I didn't know where the class was, so I'm like looking everywhere. Where's this class? Where's this class? And I finally found the building. I walk in the building, and unfortunately, when I walked in the room, I was late.
Mhm.
It was like one of those rooms where you walk in and everybody's looking at you.
Oh no.
So I walked in the room and I was late. And of course the teacher was like, "Well, thank you for joining us."
Oh
And
no.
I was mortified, but I go sit down and try to act like I'm not there.
Wow. And
But
this is your
yeah,
freshman year. You already have
that
stress on
that
top
was
of it.
embarrassing.
I feel that for you. The students, I think, appreciate hearing that professors can relate with their experiences of being a student and
Oh, for
pressures of
sure.
being a student. So
I definitely still remember what that's like first, for sure being a student, but then also being a nursing student in particular,
I
how that
bet.
went too.
I bet. Well, it's been a lot of fun for Spence and I as we're doing these interviews. We have been talking to students and giving them the opportunity to ask questions to Christian professors. So take a listen to this question from a student.
Hey, my name is Jamie Ward. I am a student at UNCW. I'm a senior elementary ed major graduating in December. And my question is, how has some of your biggest difficulties in life or biggest challenges pushed you closer to God? And like, how did you remain faithful to Him during those hard times?
Jamie, thank you for your question and congrats on coming up with a graduation soon. Hopefully we'll see you teaching very soon in our community. Um, Okay, so I've had, different things in life, like we all do, difficulties and things that have happened. One of the things that I had shared on meettheprof.com was about when my dad died when I was 15 years old. I'd always grown up in the church, so, I knew, God was always in my life, which was great for me. But when my father died, I had a question, of why would you do this? I never really didn't believe in God. I completely kept my belief, but I was angry. I didn't understand why would God do that, and I didn't understand how life would be after that because I'd only known my life with my family, my mom, my dad, my brother, and he would no longer be with us. So for that period of time, I really went through a period of doubt of what my relationship with God was and how that would be. And luckily, I mean, I was kind of quit talking to God, and I didn't like that I did that, but I quit talking to God for a period of time, probably about a year actually. Um, and one day I just broke down and um,
Mm,
sorry, my goodness.
you're
Um,
fine.
but I asked God to help me and to bring me back because
Mhm.
I was missing that part of my life.
Mm.
And luckily, God did come back in my life. And he actually, in that moment, made me feel completely calm. And I've been really angry and upset for so long. And he calmed me down. And wow, okay, sorry. Um,
Mm.
and so I was able to have that peace again and know that God was there and God helped me to get through that time. And I knew that it was not I couldn't be without God. I needed him in my life. And since then, life happens. You get different things that are difficult that happen. I've been through a divorce in my life, and that was another really difficult time. It was like one of those same kind of situations where your family is what it is,
Mm.
and then it's not. And like, how does that work? But
Mhm.
luckily, because I had relied on God before, I knew that I could rely on God again. And so God was there for me, and he actually kind of gave me people in my life that came in there to help me in those areas that I needed help with. So, things that maybe I didn't know about, but God was sending the people to me and help me to grow in my life. So, how did that make me closer to God? Honestly, without those hard times, I wouldn't have anything to challenge me, anything to push me to learn more about my relationship with God. So I'd say those difficult times are actually some of the times that I got closer to God. I mean, that there was periods of times, when I was in my marriage that, maybe I wasn't, as present with God. But after that time, it was like, I went straight to actually Topsail Beach. If you're at UNCW, if you hadn't been, it's the best beach near Wilmington. And I went there because I'd grown up there, and that's where I felt closest to God. So I went there after I found out about my husband. Our relationship wasn't going to work, and actually took because I had a 3-year-old at the time, so I took her with me, and we just went to the ocean and just sat there, and I tried to pray and think about, what was going to happen next. And, just know that I could just rely on God, and that I could just let go and let God, as they say. So,
Mm.
quit worrying about all those things that I can't control, and just let God take control. And then in the end, that's how I've gotten closer to God.
Elise, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate you being so transparent. And I think students can relate with the stresses of needing to step into the unknown, face uncertainty in the future. And the Bible does call us to a life of faith and trusting of God. And you're describing how you learned to trust God in ways you wouldn't have otherwise without the trials. When's the time? Has there been a time since you've been a professor that you've had to take any step of faith or trust God with something large that maybe your past equipped you for?
Well, how I was talking about that God puts people in your life. I actually, right after that time when I was getting really stressed out, and I was at work, and I had the opportunity to I could apply for this position to be an assistant professor.
Hmm.
And at the time, I was a lecturer. And I like to, I just did my teaching thing and did clinicals with students. But I had that opportunity, and I was like, I can't do this right now. I just can't handle all this. I really didn't think I could do it. I can't take this on right now. And I had a senior faculty member. She was also a Christian, and she says to me, well, why are you not, thinking about this? And she kind of encouraged me to pursue that. And at the time, I just never would have considered it. And because she told me, and she came for me, talking about, hey, God's there, and you should try for this. And I did.
Wow.
And luckily, I did get that assistant professor position. And now I've gotten to be an associate professor and I'm tenured. So,
Mm,
hey, I would never be on the trajectory if God hadn't put her in my life and she hadn't pushed me
yeah.
to that point
Yeah. Is
to
she
go
still
through that.
there? Is she
Yep.
still in the
Yep.
department? That's great.
And I tell her that story all the time, like,
I
you're the
bet.
right reason I'm here
I
in this
bet.
position.
It's such a gift when we have people like that in our lives, and especially we can keep telling them how much we appreciate them. I have a few friends like that too. Well, I would love to hear, as a Christian professor, how much are you able to talk to your students about your faith?
Well, and right now I'm a RN to BSN coordinator for the program. So I teach online. So
Hmm.
I can definitely say it's more difficult in teaching online to be able to reach out in that way to students because it's asynchronous. So we're not together talking.
It's like
But
recorded. They can listen whenever they have time.
yes, it's like basically the course is there, they take the course and I do interact as far as putting announcements and things like that, but it's never in person, never like as we're talking right now. So what I've done in those cases is a lot of times like students will have difficult times, during while they're, life still happens even though you're taking classes. And they'll, tell me about, hey, I'm having this difficulty with this, or my dad, is sick and I got to be there, or I'm working so much and I'm overwhelmed. And a lot of times that's when I will, bring in and kind of say, hey, I'll help you with whatever you need. I'm praying for you.
Hmm.
Please let me know if there's anything I can do. And a lot of times, we all, as professors or associate professors or lecturers, all of us are trying to get you where you want to be. We want you to succeed and be successful in whatever program that you're in. So, that's kind of how I speak with students. And recently, we've talked about an opportunity. Our pre-licensure students already have the Nursing Christian Fellowship
Oh, yeah.
that they do, and we're trying to see how can we get the RN to BSN students that are online involved
Have
with that
something
more.
similar. Oh, great.
So that's what we're working towards now. But yeah.
Great. Yeah, that'd be exciting. So at least I've never had any professor. It'd be hard for me to imagine any of my professors telling me that they were praying for me. How do your students respond to that?
Um, I would say most of them are appreciative. Thank you. I appreciate that you're there for us. And I think that a lot of times that kind of it opens that door. So if they, want to, talk more about, whatever's going on, they know that I am open to that and that,
Mm,
I am a Christian and I will, uh, you know, I do believe that God has a place, in, helping us through our trials.
mm. Well, so you have a great understanding of students, not only from being one, but being with them all the time now. So what's something you think that students would be most surprised to know about the life of a professor?
Got to think about that one, about the life of a professor. I don't know. I mean, I think that students, I don't know. Sometimes I think that they don't remember that we're human too. that
Um,
we that we do things outside of teaching. We're not all hardcore and like gonna have these grade you hard or whatever.
yep.
We have things in our lives that happens, and so we do understand when things happen, and for them that that life doesn't just stop because you're taking classes or whatever. And with our group of students, we have RN and ESN students, so they are working RNs taking classes. So I
Wow.
do understand them more than they think. And I
Mm.
think that that's what they'd be surprised about, is that we really understand where they're coming from a lot of times.
Mm. I think one thing students would like to know is what it's like being a Christian professor on a campus that is secular. You're in a state university.
Uh-huh.
So what's that been like for you?
It's kind of like, I mean, I don't know any different. I mean, I've kind of always worked at a university that is more state run and not, that's not necessarily religiously affiliated. And there
Mm,
are some things that we shouldn't, like, we can't say certain things, without making sure that the students understand that it's just coming from me, not from the school, not
yeah.
from, the classes and things like that. But I mean, I think in general, I've found many Christians that are at the university, both, professors and students. And, I found that there is a community, here
Mhm.
for, if you're a Christian student. I think there's definitely a place for you here. And I think for me, I've definitely feel like I fit in that respect, that, there's others that I can also be with. We even have
Yeah.
a faculty Bible study that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So we come together as believers
That's great. What are you all
to
studying in your faculty Bible study?
we're actually looking at Psalms, so
Oh,
different
great.
Psalms, and talking about, what those mean and how to relate that to our lives with God.
I love it. Have you ever got any negative pushback for being a Christian, being vocal at all about your faith on the campus?
Not on the campus. I have not experienced that. I would say that there's times that I don't maybe share things that, or I may share things differently
Mm.
based on who the group of people is, because I don't want to offend anybody, but at the same time, I don't want to, not say how being a Christian can be. If a student, needs something, I am willing to put it out there and kind of say, I'm praying for you. And if you would like to talk more, I'm here,
Mm.
that kind of thing. But no, I haven't actually had any experience negatively from being a Christian at
That's
the
good.
university.
And you're describing how your faith really informs how you teach. So it's going to be
For sure.
more affecting your character and the kind of professor you are. Then you're not using the lectern to preach,
No, no,
which
I
is
stick
rightly
to the
so.
nursing courses right now, but there are times that things come in, especially in nursing, that my faith comes in, and God comes in, especially when there's, patients that are not doing well, or, you
Mhm.
know, patients that are dying, or things that are happening in
Mhm.
that front.
Yeah, you're in a field where you're training students to be prepared to help those in the worst of times.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And my background is emergency nursing.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, we've, seen a lot with that. And, it's not always easy. And sometimes even the nurses needs to debrief too. They need to, have that moment of like, wow, this was hard. And, how do I get through this situation? And that's another thing that I think that we can bring forward to students is, when they're having a difficult time with a situation like a nursing with patients or whatever, to, have a talk about that. And,
Mm.
how did that make you feel? And a lot of nurses are getting burnt out with everything with COVID and all that kind of stuff. And, I think the more we can, relate to each other and talk things out, probably the better off we'll be,
Hmm.
as far as being able to continue in that role as a nurse.
No, that sounds very helpful. I would love to go back and talk some more about all that you learned by going through your trials, your father passing away, later your divorce. So I could see it being just as easy for someone going through those kind of trials to harden their hearts towards God. So, like some would say, become bitter instead of better.
Sure. Sure.
For students who have struggled in their own lives, how would you encourage them to avoid going away from God versus coming closer to God during those times?
Well, I mean, I know in my own experience, going away from God was not a pleasant experience.
Mm.
I felt very alone when I kind of shut God off, so to speak. I think that sometimes it's just about letting go of all of those things that you can't control, because there's a lot that we can control, and we can do that, but anything that you can't control, if you can lean on God and give it to God, it actually will provide a peace for you to continue in your life without having that anger. Because what is that? There's sayings about anger, about how it's just you're really only hurting yourself, basically.
Oh, yeah.
If you're holding on to that, you're not hurting anybody else. That
Hmm.
person that hurt you is, that's not going to affect them. It's only going to
Mm.
affect you.
And that
And I think
forgiveness is for our sake. It's
that's right.
releasing that person.
That's
That makes
right.
sense.
Exactly. Exactly. Forgiveness is our sake. And then, for myself, I had a 3-year-old daughter when I got divorced, and now, she's 11. So that time's
Oh,
gone
great.
by.
Yeah.
But, having a child also made me think more about, what do I want her to see? Do I want her to see me being angry at God, or me being, you know, upset about different situations, or do I want her to see me being like God? Do I want her to see me trying to be a better person, and not hold on to that anger
You've
and
got those
hatred?
little
Because
eyes watching you.
yeah, yeah. And I think that was a big thing for me, is, I had to stay calm and stay, focused and take
Hmm.
care of her. So that actually helped me a lot, to kind of let go of some of that anger and things that you may have felt, otherwise.
That makes sense. Well, I know one thing that Christian students struggle with sometimes, so that is when they graduate, they can have an idea that if I want to glorify God the most, the way I would do that is by becoming either a pastor or a missionary, or being in some kind of a Christian vocational ministry. So will you tell me, Elise, how would you challenge that? How would you encourage students to think differently of how they can glorify God in other fields just as much?
Well, yes, there is definitely, some people are called to preach, and called to, different areas. I would say that, you need to focus on what it is that you feel you're meant to do, that you're supposed to do. And I think for me, nursing was one of those things that I think I was meant to do. I actually shared on that meettheprof.com, like, it was through, my dad's death and becoming a nurse, that I realized that there are things that we can't control as human beings, even if we're, the best, healthcare provider that we are, we can't control everything. But I think that going into whatever your profession is, and just holding on to your beliefs and making that part of your life. And I think the Lord kind of shines through you, so to
Mm.
speak, if you can be open to that, and help people in the way that's best for your profession. So, like for us,
Mm.
in nursing, we're always helping people. So it becomes one of those things of where it's really being able to give that care to other people. And like if you're a teacher, like Jamie was, to be able to educate those students and bring that love that you have in your heart to those kids.
Yeah. Those are two very tangible professions, aren't they? To love
Yeah,
people tangibly. I
sure,
appreciate
sure.
nurses and educators.
Well, and since I'm a nurse educator, I guess that's why I went there.
Double whammy. Good job. You're double help.
But I'd say that there are different uh, things that, verses or different things in the Bible that may help students, when they're having difficulty. And I know one of them that I always go to is the Philippians 4:13.
What is that?
I can do all things through him who strengthens me. So again, that's letting God in, and letting God be your strength, and to be able to push through even in difficult times.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Well, this is time for the lightning round.
Oh
I will
boy.
give you a lightning round of questions. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Well, Elise, so what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Everything will be okay. I would say, just keep doing what you're doing, work hard, and you'll be able to get where you need to get. Quit worrying so much about everything.
So what advice would you give to graduating seniors?
Oh, graduating seniors. Oh, this is the time to, shine. Now you've gotten your degree, you're going out there, you're going to be in the real world doing your thing. And I mean, I think this is just the time to do, go all out, do your best, enjoy, that profession that you're now going to be in, and realize that, you've really accomplished something, to be able to do what you're doing. And, and even if the road doesn't take you where you want it to, it's okay. Sometimes it's different paths to get where you want to get. Yeah.
What advice would you give other Christian professors?
Find community with each other, but also, be open to, sharing some of your faith with your students, and be able to be there for them, in that role, as a professor, and however that you can to, really help them to be successful, but also be there as a human being and to, as a Christian to help them.
And what advice would you give to parents of college students?
Yes. So I would say that, be there for your kids whenever they're upset and they're anxious and they give you a call and like, I don't know if I can handle these classes and it's so difficult and I don't know, just be there, just be that sounding board. You don't even have to give advice. Just be there, listen, let them, say what they need to say. And then, give some encouragement of, you can still do this. It will be okay. And as parents, just, you stay calm too. It's okay. Your kids are going to learn, and get through their times, as they can. I know that that's easier to say than do. Like I said, I don't have an 18-year-old, but I can say, for my child, I have to, okay, let her do her thing, but be here if you need me, that kind of thing.
Just a few more years, your daughter will be 18.
Oh, I know. I don't want to think about it. It's coming fast.
Yeah. Well, Elise, thank you so much. I so appreciate your time, your honesty, appreciate your love for the students. So thankful that you are there for the students. So if students want to know more about you, they can find out more at meettheprof.com. But what are some other ways that they could even interact with you, reach out to you?
Well, I'm always available for email. If they want to email me, my email is Thompson, THOMPSON, CE, like C as in cat, E as in Edward. So Thompson CE at uncw.edu. And I'd definitely be willing to, talk with you via email and or, another way, but maybe that's how to get in touch with me if you'd like to talk further.
That's great. Elise, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview, and you can learn more as well as read about other Christian professors on our website, meettheprof.com, and you can search for professors by name or by state or even by college campus. And you can also find many helpful resources about questions that were in the interview and other ways of answering tough questions at cru.org, and that's cru.org. And college students, if you would like to ask a question to a professor and potentially be on the show, this is how you do it. Follow us on Instagram. It's Meet the Prof Official. And then upload us a video by direct message where you say your name, your college campus, and what year you are, and then ask your question. And you can ask more than one question. And hopefully then you can be featured on the show. And if you enjoyed this, would you please share this episode with a friend? Someone you think it would be helpful to. And please don't forget to follow or subscribe to the podcast. And if you're listening to this, but you would like to watch the videos of these interviews, we record them all and we put them on YouTube. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Meet the Prof Official. And we would love to meet you there. And lastly, if you would like to financially support our Faculty Commons ministry with Cru, you can do so online by going to give.cru.org/0424344. So thank you for being with us. And until next time, we hope you feel encouraged to have a Christ-centered conversation on your college campus.